Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community, is brought to you by Handy Quilter, designed by a quilter for quilters. Robert Kaufman Fabrics, quality fabrics for quilting. Sulky, express yourself with Sulky and create with confidence. And The Warm Company, inspiring products for creative people.
Hi, I'm Lori Baker, creative editor of Quilters Newsletter magazine. With me today is Carol Ann Waugh, quilter, artist, fiber artist, and author. And Carol, welcome.
Thank you. Really excited to be here.
So glad you are. Would you start at the very beginning and tell me where and when you started quilting?
Yes, I started in the mid-'70s in New York City, where I was working at Butterick Vogue, as a matter of fact. So I've always been surrounded by fabric and fashion. And I started making a king-size quilt after I needle-pointed a couch, which was a big deal. And I needed a bigger project than that. And so I started making a king-size quilt. And halfway through, I ran out of fabric. And that was very annoying. And so I decided to write a book, because I figured if I was running out of fabric, so was everybody else who was trying to make their own quilt. So I wrote the Patchwork Quilt Design and Coloring book, which was a whole book about helping people take an old pattern and make it their own, and understand how much fabric to use so they didn't run out and make the mistake that I did. And so this was right before the bicentennial, and that was kind of the time when quilting rose in interest for people, and so my book sold very well, and so we wrote two more, and we wrote Patchworking, and then we wrote another book that was just all about how to figure out your yardage and how much yardage you need. And so I was so busy writing books, I stopped making quilts, and I never did really make a quilt.
So tell me when you got started again. When was that?
So about 5 years ago, I had, in the meantime, moved to Denver and wanted to do some charity work. So there's a group here called the Firehouse Quilt Group, and they do charity quilts for firehouses. And so I joined the group, and all of a sudden people said, you know, they started teaching me how to do rotary cutting and using rulers. I mean, I never used that, because in the old days we used to have to cut out our own cardboard and use scissors and all that. And I found out it was so much fun that I just started making quilts, and I got hooked. So that's when I started back into it.
Okay, and now you are a full-time artist?
I am. About 3.5 years ago, I was doing a lot of art quilts and fiber art, and I moved out of my house and I rented a studio in an art district in Denver, and so now it's kind of like my job. I get up at 9 and I go there and work, and I love it.
And you've done commission work as well?
I have. I have participated in the Denver public art that's here, and just recently finished a commission for the city of Denver.
And how did they find you?
That's an interesting story because I'm a very curious person, and I love traditional quilting as much as I love art quilting. And so I heard about this movement called the Modern Quilt Movement, and they were having their first meeting in Denver, so of course I had to go. And we were introducing ourselves around the table. And one of the people who came there was Brooke Jones, who at the time was head of public art in Denver. And so we introduced each other, and she was telling me how much she wanted fiber artists to apply to some of these art commissions. And so I invited her to do a little speech for the artists who work in fiber, and then I felt I had to do it myself. So I actually applied to some public art commissions and won one, so I was very happy about that.
And you've done shows as well?
I have. I've had several solo shows here in Denver. I've also sent my pieces all over the country to be juried into other shows, so many of my pieces are out right now on display.
Okay, so now would you tell us about some of your work behind me, please?
Yes. This is probably what I'm most well known for. It's called Stupendous Stitching, And it's a way that people can use decorative machine stitches, couching, and handwork to create art. And I actually just wrote a book on it, and it just came out 2 months ago, called Stupendous Stitching. And I also teach it in person and online at craftsy.com.
Okay. And the one behind you?
The next one is what I call Stitch and Slash. It's based on reverse applique, but I call this cut work because it's raw edge, and in order to make all the layers, you cut through with a seam ripper to make the fraying possible. So the way everybody wants to know how this is made, you take 4 layers of fabric, you design it from the back and sew it, and then flip it over and just cut through all the layers until you reach the bottom layer. And then you just kind of put it together.
It's really striking.
Thank you.
And one more?
The piece behind you is a new series I'm working on. I'm interested in creating fabric from a white fabric instead of using commercial fabric. And so I started that piece by doing some deconstructed screen printing, which is kind of a technique a lot of people are using right now. And then I applied some paint to it and did some stenciling, and then stitched on top to give it even more texture.
And if I wanted to see some more of your work, do you have a website?
I do. It's www.carolandwaugh.com.
Wonderful. Tell me a little bit more about your teaching now.
I love teaching. I started teaching about 2 years ago, and I just love having really traditional quilters, and most of them are traditional quilters, come to my class, and I help them become artists. And by the time they leave, they feel like they're artists. And I think that that's such a gift that I can give people that it just makes me get up in the morning and just love what I do. And the other thing I found out is I'm teaching online now, and it's amazing because I have students from all over the world. And so I'm communicating in different languages, and thank God for Google Translate. But it's just a fabulous way to have community. You know, it's not the same thing as being able to look and feel and meet people, but it enables me to reach thousands of students, which I can't do in person.
That's right.
So.
That's right. And isn't it fun to have that aha moment when you know that they get it?
It's wonderful, and actually, they Craftsy has put up a new thing on their website, reviews, and when I read a review and the people say, "I've learned so much, I had so much fun," it just makes me feel wonderful.
So you teach where?
I'm actually excited because I'm going to teach in Houston this year, so this is a big deal for me. This is the first time that I've taught at this huge quilt fair, so I'm looking forward to that a lot.
I'll bet you are. It's been wonderful to have Carol with us today. Carol, thank you so much for being here, for telling us about your art and all of your wonderful books. It's been a delight.
Thank
Thanks.
you so much.
Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters Community, is brought to you by Handy Quilter, designed by a quilter for quilters. Robert Kaufman Fabrics, quality fabrics for quilting. Sulky, express yourself with Sulky and create with confidence. And The Warm Company, inspiring products for creative people.